What's up, my ninjas, it's Dee here, and we are back with another tutorial. This time it is about 3D printing, and if you watch this video you'll figure out how I go from printing the object to priming and finally painting it. I CAD model and 3D printed Destroyer Diva's gun from the game Heroes of the Storm. This was a commission requested by Mandy Cosplay, and you can find her links below. Hope you guys enjoy, and I hope this is helpful. Now that you've gotten your 3D prints, the first thing you want to do is remove all the support filament. You can do this by using pliers, or you can just use your hands. You just want to be careful that you don't cut yourself, as I did on my thumb, because the film is actually pretty sharp. Once you've cleaned all your 3D prints, you're gonna get some super glue. I personally use Loctite, and you're gonna get your clamps ready, or rubber bands, whichever you prefer to use. And you're just going to use the super glue and dab it along all the edges of your 3D print where the corners will meet. I sadly ran out of super glue halfway through this, so I went and got epoxy. It's not recommended, but I really was running out of time, so I just had to use what I had. Now you're going to grab your rubber bands and clamps to keep your 3D print together as much as possible as the glue dries. What's important is that you make sure that all your corners line up as best as you can, because once this glue dries, you're not going to be getting your print out. Now for the super glue, you can actually just wait a couple minutes. I gave it 30 minutes, but on the bottle it says about 15. So more time the better, but you definitely don't have to wait overnight for super glue. I thankfully was able to buy some more glue at a local Joann's. And once again, you're gonna just dab that glue along the very edge and just a little bit in the middle. You don't really need that much, but more is better than less. So you're gonna wanna make sure you line up your print as much as possible. And this time, it helps if you use the rubber band to keep the edges of your print together. So I'm gonna rubber band right along the top of where the print meets, the bottom where the print meets, as well as the middle part to just keep the two sides flush together as much as possible. Now we're going to just glue the very last part of the print together. And once again, you're going to grab your rubber bands and try and keep the top edge, the middle edge, and the bottom edge as flush as possible. And if for whatever reason you get super glue on your fingers, you can use baking powder to counteract the chemical reaction so that your fingers don't stick together for days. So once your glue's dried, maybe 30 minutes to an overnight, you're going to start filling in all those edges where your print meets. Sometimes during printing, your print may actually warp, so you're going to want to take some Bondo filler and you're going to want to fill in those edges. Now, this stuff does not come off, so I'm going to use paper as a workplace, and you want to make sure you use that mask because this thing smells so bad. And on a normal day, I'd be using this in a ventilated area with a fan running, but for this video, I'm just going to be doing this in my den, which made my den smell like Bondo for a couple hours. Not recommended. I suggest doing this in a bathroom or somewhere else where you're not just inhaling fumes. Now you're going to take that putty and just use your fingers. You're not supposed to, but I use my fingers because it's just easier to control. And you're just going to try and fill in all those gaps between your print. You can use gloves. I don't have gloves, so thus I'm using my finger. Don't have to worry about getting it smooth, as you're going to have to try and get rid of all those 3D print lines the best you can. So the more you use, the better chance you'll have to just sand it off smoothly. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and continue filling in those gaps with more Bondo. You're going to want to try and use your Bondo as fast as possible because the putty does dry within 5 to 10 minutes, and by then it's going to be useless. So as you can see, I'm just filling in all the lines of the print. I've gotten most of it so far. Sometimes after you sand this, you're going to have to go back and fill in gaps that you didn't get. But I ended up having to Bondo putty my print about 3 different times because of all the gaps that the putty didn't completely fill, or the lines where the 3D print met and I wasn't able to get that line to disappear. So I usually wait overnight before I even try and sand my print. But once your print is good and ready, you're just gonna wet sand it. In this case, I'm going to start with 230 grit paper and move up to 400 grit, but this is the first time, so we're going to go with a lower grit to just try and sand as much of the Bondo smoothly before I start adding more layers and thus going to a higher grit sandpaper. So as you can see, there's still a slight indent where the print actually meets, so thus I have to go back and use more filler to get that line to disappear. Once you're happy with the print, you can start priming. Sometimes little indentations or marks that you don't see while sanding, so it actually helps to prime it and then go back to Bondo again. Due to Diva's gun, you want to get a darker color, so I ended up going back with a different shade of gray primer filler, and ta-da! This is what I got on the little keychain as well, with the little holes at the bottom to connect them. So yeah, that's the tutorial. I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment below or message me on any of my social media platforms. YouTube's kind of weird. I don't really get to see the comments on my videos for some reason. It's a pain in the butt, but yeah. Regardless, let me know what tutorials I should do next. So if you really enjoy this, please consider supporting me on Patreon. That really helps me just, you know, get all the materials and the funds and just dedicate some time to actually do all this. So I hope this helps. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!